To the big story of this weekend, who will lead the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal? That is the question. Well, we will know by tonight, as the delegates will soon vote for the top 5 leadership positions. And eNCA's Siphamandla Goge brings us the latest from the conference. So the nominations for the top 5 positions, Siphamandla, done and dusted. There was a broad field, at least in the branches of social media, but in the end, I see that it all came down to, at least for the position of chairperson, to Siboniso Duma and the current chairperson, Sihle Zikalala.
Indeed. Is it not interesting that before the conference there will be a number of slates that will be flying around, too many names being mentioned, that they will meet the threshold and contest for the position of the provincial chairperson? Well, in the end, it came down to branch nominations and nominations from the floor. Initially, there were about 5 candidates that were tipped to contest for the same position of the provincial chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. Sihle Zikalala, Siboniso Duma, Ngidi, the stalwart of the ANC in the province and former Director General of the provincial government in KwaZulu-Natal, Sandile Zungu, the businessman as well as the member of the ANC who is the owner of Amazulu Football Club, Nomsa Dube Ngube, the former provincial treasurer of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. All those names, all their campaign managers were saying they will be able to contest successfully. But in the end, Nomsa Dube was nominated from the floor. She did not meet the threshold. She accepted nomination. By the way, Sandile Zungu nominated from the floor. He declined nomination. Ngidi did not feature at all. So for the position of the provincial chairperson, the battle is between Siboniso Duma, the former ANC Youth League leader in the province, as well as Sihle Zikalala, the former ANC Youth League General Secretary nationally. So that position will be contested by the former ANC Youth Leaguers. Now you move to the position of the Deputy Provincial Chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. Mshengu was the only one, by the way, whose name received branch nominations and met the threshold from the branches. It was a repeat of what happened in the Eastern Cape, with Andile Lungisa being the only one to basically receive branch nominations and meeting the threshold. But remember, he was defeated by someone who emerged from the floor, whose name was proposed and raised from the floor. So in this case, voting is not done yet, but Mshengu was the only one who received nomination from branch nominations, and there was the name of Nomakukus Melane, who is also one of the former leaders of the Youth League, which was raised from the floor. She accepted nomination and met the threshold for that position of Deputy Provincial Chairperson. Nomakukus Melane will go up against Mshengu. You move to the position of Provincial Secretary. Mtumseni Ntuli will be contesting with Peggy Mtolo for that position. Both leaders of the ANC Youth League, former leaders, will go for that position. You move to the Deputy Provincial Secretary. There was the name of Nontembeko Boyce that was nominated from the floor. She met the threshold. She will be contesting that position together with Sipho Muga, who is the former Deputy Provincial Secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. The interesting position was that of Provincial Treasurer. Initially, there was only one candidate that met the threshold from the branch nominations. That is Zandile Kumede, eThekwini Regional Chairperson. She is facing corruption charges. She is on step aside. The resolution of the ANC's National Executive Committee does not allow her or any leader to contest for the position, so she had to decline nomination. She sent Musa Nciki, the Regional Secretary of the ANC in eThekwini, to say she's not available as she's respecting the decision and the resolution of the ANC on step aside. There were 2 nominations from the floor for that position of the provincial treasurer, Joe Mosbia as well as Dr. Ntutuko Mahlaba, former Newcastle mayor. They were both nominated there. Joe Mosbia is the current MEC of Public Works and Human Settlements in KwaZulu-Natal. Both of them met the threshold and they accepted nomination. So that was the breakdown of this nomination process. Very interesting. But let's bring in here Sibonelo Nomvalo from the ANC Youth League Trust team in KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you very much for your time, Baba. A number of former ANC Youth League leaders are contesting for this conference. What is the position of the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal in terms of this conference? Which leadership perspective would you want to see emerging?
Yeah, indeed, a number of former leaders of the Youth League, recent former leaders and former leaders of the Youth League are contesting here. We wish them all the best. But this is a democratic process, so we cannot rule out any possibility. But we do have a preference as the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal. In our last formal meeting, which we sat as a working committee, we took a resolution on this matter, and we said we cannot go to a contestation on a neutral position. We must either be on the left or on the right. And in so doing, we were scientific because we considered different contributions that were made by different leaders, both in government and in the ANC. And we said out of those leaders, we must prioritize leaders of the ANC, and then of former leaders of the Youth League. And then we took a resolution that we are going to support the current chairperson or the outgoing chairperson, because they have just been dissolved now, to come back as the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. And we said we are also going to support the former chairperson of the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal, Comrade Kwazi Ushengu, the current MEC of Education. We said we are going to support him for the position of the deputy chair. And we said we're going to support Comrade Mdumiseni to come back, and Comrade Nte and Comrade Jomo Sibiya.
But the leaders that you are mentioning, particularly the former chairperson and the former provincial secretary, have been there when the ANC has been registering electoral decline in KwaZulu-Natal. They've presided over an organization that has struggled to regain lost ground. 2019, electoral decline. 2021, electoral decline. Collectively, together with the former PEC members, collectively they are responsible for the declining electoral fortunes of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. Do you think come 2024 they will turn things around, and how so if they were unable to do that over the past two elections?
No, we cannot attribute that to individuals. There is collectivism in the organization. The issue of electoral decline is as a result of many problems in the province, but not only in the province, also in the country, because KZN does not exist in isolation. So we've got many problems that are starting from branches, regions, province, and at a national level.
But also you don't seem to be pushing for current leaders of the ANC Youth League. You are talking about former leaders in that top 5 position, or in those top 5 positions, not even a single one who is currently serving, be it in the provincial task team of the ANC Youth League. You seem to be okay with your former leaders, but not current leaders. How are they going to fight for issues facing young people, unemployment, inequality, and poverty, if you are not part of that to do it yourselves?
No. We are pushing also for current ANC Youth League leaders, but remember, the PEC doesn't only consist of officials, it consists of the entire structure. So we said the current leaders of the Youth League that we have identified should be part of the collective, being the PEC. We've identified quite a number of them, and we said we are going to lobby for them here, and if it happens, they are going to emerge, and we are confident that they will emerge.
In terms of policy issues, what would you like to see this conference discussing? Because the people of KwaZulu-Natal are suffering under the ANC-led government. The cost of living is high. There are a number of issues with service delivery that the electorate is not happy with.
Now remember, our twin task is to champion the interest of young people and also to mobilize them behind the vision of the ANC. So in whatever we're doing, we prioritize them, and at no point where we will compromise them. So in terms of the policy position, we are saying we are going to persuade this conference to take a position that in all the municipalities and the government departments, there must be a policy that says in the procurement there must be a 40% set aside for young people in the public procurement.
Thank you very much for time, Baba. That is Bonelo Nomvalo, who speaks for the task team of the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal. As the voting for those top 5 positions of the officials of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is set to get underway shortly.
Siphamandla, before I let you go, just a bit more on the intrigue, the political intrigue, which is of course separate from the realities that the ANC is grappling with in terms of its own electoral performance, but also in terms of the well-being of citizens in KwaZulu-Natal. If we park that for a moment and entertain the intrigue a bit further, what's the story with these factional lines that seemed to be quite clear ahead of the conference, but it appears now from the nominations that in some instances, people that come from the same that are believed to be part of the same faction are actually those people who are nominated for the same position. What's happened? Have things moved? Is left, right, left now at this point?
I do not know how to unpack it, but things have moved. There's been a chess game that has been played and things have been rearranged. Former political allies are no longer political allies here in KwaZulu-Natal. Those who did not see eye to eye in terms of leadership preference in the 2017 ANC conference nationally in Nasrec are now political allies, and former political allies are no longer allies. Take, for instance, on the issue of Gwazimshengu and Nomagugu Smelane. Both of them, former ANC Youth League leaders, they were friends, or they are friends as much as I understand it. They are also political allies. They've been working very well together, but things started changing in terms of their political relationship, I understand, when they decided to go for the position of the deputy provincial chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. So both of them, 2017, they were on the side that supported Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the so-called RET forces. You move to the issue of Jomo Sibiya, who's the current MEC for Public Works and Human Settlements in KwaZulu-Natal, and Dr. Ntuthuko Mahlaba, who's the former mayor of Newcastle in the Malahleni region or Mbusokbeka region. Both of them preferred President Cyril Ramaphosa of the ANC in 2017, but this time around, both of them are contesting each other, and Jomo Sibiya is contesting on the slate that is led by former chairperson Sihle Zikalala. On the other side, Ntuthuko Mahlaba is contesting on the slate that is led by Siboniso Duma, which nominated Zandile Kumede, who is a strong political ally of former President Jacob Zuma, as well as Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. So you have Dr. Ntuthuko Mahlaba, prior to Nasrec, who was known to be supporting President Cyril Ramaphosa. You also have Jomo Sibiya, who was known to be supporting President Ramaphosa, who is still a political ally of President Ramaphosa, contesting on the slate that is led by Sihle Zikalala, Gwazimshengu, and you get a sense that political dynamics have shifted in KwaZulu-Natal. But for you to analyze the political landscape in KwaZulu-Natal, you need to narrow it down to the issue of 11 regions in the province and the provincial politics. Do not mix that with the national politics of the ANC, because you will get it completely wrong. It could very well be that for this provincial conference, former political allies are not seeing eye to eye in terms of leadership preference for this provincial conference, but nationally it could very well be that the status quo remains. So you can only judge that come December 2022, but currently for this provincial conference, political landscape has changed, things have been rearranged and they have moved around.
All right, Siphamandla, let's leave it there for now. We will pick up the conversation. Of course, this is not to push to the back burner the issues that the communities in KwaZulu-Natal are dealing with. It's trying to balance both what is happening politically, because it is significant, at least within the life of the ANC, but also balancing it with the realities that people face in that province. That's eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge, part of the team covering the ANC Provincial Conference in KwaZulu-Natal. More of that coverage throughout the day here on eNCA.